evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. We are back after an exciting UFC at 305 that concluded Saturday night. Let me tell you, I don't know shit about fuck when it comes to this stuff and picking. If you rode with me, you went 0-5 on the main card. I didn't get one right, not one. Not Izzy lost. Steve Ursay put down. Leach, may he rest in peace. I mean, I don't even. Who else did I miss out on? Man,
did we go with Dan Hooker?
No, Gamrot.
No.
Dan Hooker. Love Dan Hooker. I mean, I was a fan of Dan Hooker, but I became more of a fan again. He's tough as fucking nails, Dan Hooker is. Of course, with me as always is my guy Whit and Bobby Blunt's boys. It was and still Saturday night as DDP in the fourth round. I feel like when I watch DDP and he wins and he looks gassed, I feel like Breaking Bad. How does he keep getting away with this? Because that. I feel like every fight fan is like that with DDP because he looks gassed, he's awkward, and he still wins and he chokes out Izzy. First time he's been choked out in the fourth round. And still, Bobby, I'll start with you. You picked and still. I think you were about the only one that did, and you had that one right.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a fight. When I broke it down, I was pretty much saying I think it would be as close to right down the middle as it could be. It definitely kind of reflected the betting line there. I rewatched it a few times because I had the first initial reaction like whoa, that kind of came out of nowhere, but Drekiss is able to move forward and I guess kind of lunge forward. He always seems to have like even his feet in the air like when he does it, so it's like very not a traditional thing, very awkward. But like as far as how I was scoring it in real time, I gave Drekiss the first two rounds. The second round more narrowly, but the way the fight was going, it was back and forth. I gave Izzy the third round. He was winning the fourth, so if that actually went into the fifth, it would have been, that round decided the fight. So but it was just very interesting watching Drekiss work. Like in the second round when he got the takedown and he went with the grappling and stuff, when he didn't go back to it immediately, I kind of thought like, oh, is he tired or does he just kind of see with the striking? But it was clear like whoever was throwing the exchanges was landing. So I think he kind of was keeping it in his back pocket for that moment where he truly went for it. And that was it. I mean, he had the hooks in faster than he had him down there. And, in that fourth round, rounds 2 and 3, it's like, okay, yeah, he looks a little tired, but that's Drekiss. I think he's fine. But then in the fourth, when Izzy starts, putting it on him, hitting him with those body shots and stuff, you're like, ooh, this ain't looking too good for Drekiss. And the second I come close to doubting him, he finishes the fight. So amazing performance by him. And, I do also think that Sean Strickland win is aging like fine wine. Everyone, coming with their, it was just an off night for Izzy. Like, you're entitled to have that opinion. But I think a big reason for Drekiss' success is he did a lot of stuff he learned from Sean in that fight. So not taking anything away from Izzy, he had a great performance, but Drekiss was the better man that night.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought Izzy looked great. In those first like 3 rounds were really close. I think there was one clear round. I can't quite remember. Might have been the third but you could have scored it either way. It was a very close fight. What's your thoughts on and still? And I thought Izzy looked great.
Bro, first of all, if you said Dricus Duplessis by submission, you were the winner of the night because somehow, some way, I didn't call that one. I didn't see that happening. Because I was in the middle of driving, I was out doing my thing. I went to the Jaguars Buccaneers game Saturday night. But the thing was, every other person I was around was like, "Oh my god!" And I kept having to stop and say, "What are you doing?" And people were watching the fight, either on their phone. I ran into a guy who his whole promotion thing is selling like basically those foldable TVs, and I sat there and I watched the first 2 rounds with him. And it's funny to say that and I mentioned it earlier. It looked as if Israel Adesanya was prepared to do anything to win the fight, except for be prepared to battle against just a little bit of this awkwardness that Dricus has. It's weird. It's almost like he's, I don't know how to describe.
It's like a white boy dancing, and that's
it's very off. I'm sorry. Shout out to all my white friends.
Rhythm.
But it's very offbeat. It's very off center. He's swinging wildly. He
lunges forward. It is different style. It's awkward. It's
like watching somebody dance in the middle of the floor and going like, oh, all right, okay, and then you have to be prepared because at the same time he has a crazy reach, and I think somehow, some way that like Izzy misjudged the distance on several occasions, and I think what Bobby was mentioning was like in the third, out of nowhere, okay, Izzy caught a bit of what we would like to think of like some real Israel Adesanya speed. And then right here, I'm looking at the fourth before it happened. We got to the submission before we got to the takedown. They're even on significant strikes at 24. Izzy really caught up to what was happening in the second half of the fight. Technically, if there was a fifth round, I feel like Israel Adesanya would have won that one. One of the things,
thought maybe Izzy was going to get him out there in the fourth. Attention, all UFC, all MMA fighters, all fighters. If you're thinking about fighting, stop pointing at the ground. You are not Max Holloway. Only Max Holloway can point at the ground and fight like that. Izzy did the point at the ground, kind of thing, and then
he didn't really point. He kind of like poked it,
Yeah. So
Max was like here. Izzy was like.
If I'm not mistaken, on his YouTube channel, he had like his post-fight thing, and he was saying actually that's not what he was doing when he was pointing at the ground. He was referring to, I think, being tripped or something, and he was pointing at. So I don't know if he was maybe doing it to, say, hey, that's not a knockdown, it was a trip sort of thing. But it was pretty wild how the second that happened, he shot for that takedown.
Yeah.
But I could completely understand. Like there was some wild scorecards on that entire event.
We'll get to the Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder.
Oh yeah,
I'm really wondering how the judges did have it scored. I looked at it, but I can't remember off the top of my head because I could totally see why judges would narrowly give Dricus the round or why they wouldn't narrowly give Dricus the round. And it's just kind of a testament to how close that Strickland fight was, you get another 3 set of judges and you probably very well could have gotten another decision there. So I'm wondering in that moment, I don't think it's all as simple as this, but did Dricus think hey, I might actually need a finish to get this out? Or do I feel comfortable enough with how Izzy's matched me on the striking going to decision? Because, I don't think he shot for that takedown out of desperation. I think he just saw it and took it. But, it just happened so fast. It was wild.
So I got the scorecards here right now. Ben Cartledge scored it. Let's see. First round 10-9 Izzy, DDP 10-9. Second round 10-9 DDP. Izzy 10-9 in the third. So Izzy was up 2-1 on his scorecard going into the fourth. Charlie Keach scored it 10-9 DDP round one. Round two, 10-9 DDP. Scored it 10-9 for Izzy. So Izzy was down on that card. So right there, you already got a split.
So Charlie sounds like he scored it like I did.
And then
in real time.
Yeah. Then David had it 10-9 Izzy first round, 10-9 second DDP, 10-9 second DDP.
And see what I was thinking,
which is weird because
the
other two judges score. I mean, it's just so it's so flip flop there. I think in the third, everybody scored it for Izzy besides David.
The split, and just like Bobby said, that's pretty much where we were at with it. Bobby mentioned it. It's not like he did I think Drakus didn't do the takedown out of desperation, but somewhat of hey, I got to get him out of here. It reminded me, like when I watched the playback, it reminded me of that Dustin Poirier Islam fight when after he was getting, the best of him, Islam said, "Forget it. This has to end." And I feel like and even Drakus said it. Hey, I felt that man's power in the ring, and he didn't want to get kicked in the shin anymore. So how do you end this? He out wrestled him at the right time, and I feel like that is a testament to his fight knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like he knew this is it. I'm going to have to do something, not out of desperation, but I got to make a move. And in the sense of him making a move, he made the best one and then went for the sub.
I hate one thing I hate is on the internet. First of all, I hate people who are like, "Oh, Izzy wasn't that great. It's time to First of all, that's a lie. Izzy was king of the middleweights for a long time, or that Izzy's washed. You can't tell me that he's washed after watching that fight. Like, he is not washed. We just saw him go almost a split decision with the champ. Like, so he's still right there. He's still got it. So Bobby, I'm going to ask you kind of what's next for Izzy. I think it seems like Sean's next for DDP, but what's next for Israel Adesanya, losing 3 out of his last 4 fights in a 2-fight losing skid?
Ironically, I think the best fights for him are rematches. Like, I know nobody wants to see Izzy Whitaker again, but for some reason after Saturday, it seemed a little bit more interesting to me. And to touch on something you mentioned, like I don't in any way think Israel is declining. However, I am kind of asking myself, prior to the Strickland loss, like, would this have kind of been the same performance? He seemed to be moving great with his quickness. I don't think the bulk up really bothered him. When I was watching it in real time, I thought he was a lot more labored. Then when I went back and watched it, I'm like, okay, yeah, he doesn't seem as tired. It was just kind of the in-between rounds and stuff. So it really just seemed to be a, shot out of nowhere. But, I think that rematch would be good. Why not Izzy Paulo Costa again?
Costa's way too far down. You don't want to do. I don't want to do
Izzy.
Yes.
I mean, because like you look at like where that division is. Like, I mean, I could say give him the winner of Brendan Allen's fight.
Yeah.
You could kind of say, if depending on the winner of Saturday's fight, that would be
Kyle
like maybe
Kyle Baharo.
Yeah, maybe him versus Izzy. Like that'd be a fresh one. But Izzy's at that point where, like, depending on no matter who he fights, he's kind of going to be the A side anyways. So it doesn't really make a difference with the opponent to me. I just hope he gets back in there, not relatively soon, but gets like the same time to heal. But he was talking about he felt great and he wants to get back at it. So, but the other option for me, obviously, would be Sean Strickland again. You know, I would not think Dana would go back on what he says now. I do think they book DDP.
Oh, Dana's never lied to us before, Bobby. You know, he's the most honest
Well,
person there is.
the only thing that makes it interesting to me is I do think it is going to be in South Africa next.
Ooh.
And what that does to the time frame, like if the Chimaev and Whitaker fight happens before it's booked, then maybe, you know, they do some shuffling and they do Chimaev. And, you know, if they fuck over Strickland like that, I would have no problem wanting to see him fight Izzy again, because that's the rematch I really want to see. But, you know, at the same time, realistically, I think Izzy and Strickland could meet up again with gold on the line. So
I think, I think the person you mentioned, Hamzat, to me, that's the person. Like if he beats Robert Whitaker, you do Izzy and Hamzat. That's still a good fight to me, and it makes Hamzat have to go through two of the best people. Like do what DDP did. You got to go through two of the best middleweights in the world.
So I had that feeling before the end of the fourth round. I had that same sentiment. And then, you know, that fight would start. And I don't mean in any way like as far as the ragdolling aspect, but he would immediately shoot on him. You know, it wouldn't be like, hey, I'm going to entertain the strike. Like he would instantly shoot on him. And, you know, that's probably in the second round, Izzy's best part was being able to get up and out of that dangerous position. So, you know, you can tell he was clearly working up against the cage and getting up from takedowns. So, I mean, the training really showed. So it probably is like the most holy shit fight you could do for Izzy that didn't involve like a straight rematch for sure.
Yeah, I like it more than any others. But I mean, first, Hamzat A has got to show up to fight Rob and then beat Rob, which both of those aren't easy for Hamzat. What about you? What do you think is next for Izzy?
Yeah, Bobby took my answer for the question. So I was gonna go definitely with the winner of the Cannonier Bahalo fight. At one point in time, Jared Cannonier was next up before we kind of got that Sean Strickland vibe happening. When Sean Strickland
we saw that though, and that fight was a snooze fest. That's my problem with the Cannonier Izzy fight. Remember how boring that fight was? The coolest part of that whole fight was Izzy's walkout to the Undertaker theme, and then after that, you might as well just shut the fight off because you didn't miss anything.
I mean, you know, but what did Bobby say? I think some of the better fights for Izzy would be rematches. So somewhere in there, you throw out Cannonier. Cannonier and Izzy are somewhat in a different space in their career right now. Cannonier on the upswing. If he beats Bahalo,
we'll get to that fight later on in the show because
you know, if he was to beat Bahalo, but then of course I like where instead of Robert Whitaker we throw Hamzat in there. But you hit the nail on the head, bro. When it comes to not only getting to the fight but having his health. We don't expect very much when it comes to Hamzat. It's disappointing because once again, I've said it on numerous times. At one point in time, he saved UFC during COVID, but since then, I haven't gotten anything from him. But for me, I really think that if Hamzat beats, if Robbie beats Hamzat, then there's nothing else to do but either have Izzy do Strickland or him. And somehow, some way, I think y'all kind of went around it correctly. If we get to a UFC Africa, how would we not have somewhere, shape, or form? They do this everywhere. They got 3 or 4 fights with people from those countries. What Kamaru Usman makes a freaking comeback some kind of way. Izzy fights anybody, and somehow, some way, of course, you know, we'll not get it, but we'll have Francis Ngannou in the crowd, and then we'll talk about that again. And of course, Dana had his whole press conference where he swore up and down the idea is John Jones will fight anybody. It wasn't him. It was all Ngannou with the issue. Okay, cool. But I bet you the point would be the premieres of anything dealing with Africa has to include Drickus. It has to include Izzy, and it somehow has to include Kamaru. But now we're getting off topic.
The Africa thing is because Sean Strickland's seems like he's very anti wanting to go over there and wants to stay in the United States. If Robert Whitaker wins, why not do it, Rob? And I'm sure Robert Whitaker will go to South Africa and fight for the title.
This is the most common misconception about Strickland. Okay, people see that he's tweeting like, "Oh,
I think he'll go, Bobby. I think he'll go. I think he'll go.
Yeah, he's
the company man. He's the company man.
Well, I wouldn't say that because he also talks.
Yeah,
so,
true.
Which company?
But I don't know why I get so excited for that. Like the thought of Strickland going over to another country. Like I know it's very slim that he'd win the fans over there because
he won the Australian fans over. I mean, they loved him when he was over there.
Yeah, I mean it's just I find it more entertaining than him not fighting in America. I'm sorry. Like the whole aspect of it, like I'm sure it doesn't make the UFC feel any better, but it's pretty wild how all that really plays out. So but the one thing, if Robert Whitaker is able to defeat Chimaev and that fight is not booked, you're going to hear a lot more noise to get him to skip Strickland. But at the end of the day, I think Drickus stopping Rob is why, again, a little bit of testament to Strickland. He got Izzy out of there and he went to a split decision with Sean. So
yeah,
I get the whole idea of, why does he deserve a rematch when he's only fought Paulo Costa? He did dominate the greatest in the middleweight division before Drickus du Plessis.
True.
And, a lot of that just gets kind of glossed over with, he couldn't defend the title, so that performance is bullshit. So I know we're not on.
I mean, he's won a lot of fights prior to that. You know what I mean? He won a lot of fights prior to that. Real quick on the DDP front, Alex Pereira posted a picture or a video, on his Instagram saying like, "Hey, I'll come down to 185 one more time." I don't really want to see Alex at 185. I think the 205 DDP said, "Hey, I'll beat Sean Strickland and then me and you will rumble at 205." I don't know if that's, I'm all for it. Like if that's what he wants to do, but I think to me as a champ, you got to clean out your division before you can move up. Where Alex has kind of cleaned out everybody. There is other than I meant to start the show kind of with him, and we'll circle back to that eventually about him and Roundtree. But what's your thoughts on either up or down for Alex or DDP?
So I don't disagree with anything you said about, defending the belt and stuff. Obviously do that. But absolutely DDP should go up. Because, with him doing this at 185 with, the blitzing and, coming at you, can you imagine if he actually added 25 pounds to that?
But what I also see is a blitz and then Alex Pereira with a left hook, and then he blitzed and then he's just face flat on the ground. Because how many times have we seen that happen?
But how many times have we just assumed, awkward Drickus won't be able to do anything?
I said it at the top of the show, Bobby. He can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah, but the thing is, he can. What
he
I'm
is
interested in is that's why I want to see the Strickland rematch so much. I'm interested in what Nitzik has done. They've seen him once for 25 minutes with that awkward pacing and stuff. And, for me, that's the only fight to make. I understand everyone, wants to, be like, well, why isn't Robert Whitaker getting the title shot? Not to quote Dana White, but he already has a fight.
Yeah.
Which, hate quoting Dana.
Thoughts on the co-main? Your guy, Kaikar France. knocks out Steve Erceg, like you know,
Well,
Kai France is that dude at flyweight. He really is. Like he is a dude. Is it title fight or next for Kai France?
yeah, I would say so for a number of reasons. I mean, prior to the main event, City Kickboxing was on its way to making me look extremely stupid.
Yeah.
I told them they had the opportunity to do it, and they were right there. And you know, that was just, you know, he definitely caught him. I did not really have an issue with the stoppage. I saw like slight protests, but I mean, he hit him with a bomb there. And you know, when you look at the last ranked guy that got a win there, didn't get re-signed, I would think France is a kind of, who else are they going to do for it, you know? I mean, I think he'd be a perfect like co-main event for December or something like that, unless they want to take it into next year. But that'd be a perfect one to build up. I wouldn't see that being a main event. They're not going back to Brazil anytime soon. So maybe they put it on the MSG card with John Jones, but that just sounds like an awkward pairing to me personally.
Yeah, it could be. That'd be interesting. What's your thoughts? Is it title shot for Kai France?
I mean, you know, a lot of times the performance dictates what's next. And if you saw what I saw, the only answer is a correct. The only correct answer would be to go ahead and give him the title shot. I think that and for me, literally, it was one of those moments where you're going, okay, you know, it's not like we didn't know Kai France wasn't for real before, but you know, I put a stamp on it. You know what I mean? He put a stamp on the division, so to speak. As I look at some of the things I thought was really important, of course, you know, hey, what we got? How many rounds? And the significant strikes just go up, and boop, there it is. You know, somehow, some way, we got a chance to see him against somebody that we thought was more of a gamer. But you know, it's unfortunate, man. My guy Ursay, he can't. What's the old thing? He can't win for losing. You know what I mean? I know it because on paper this looked really, really even. I think we talked about that on the show. But somehow, some way, man, the cream rises to the top. You know. And once again, Kai France goes up. So, like I think, Bobby just mentioned, you know, where do we put a Pantoja fight? We're not going to Brazil. We are going to Madison Square Garden. Heavy, you know, South American vibes in MSG. You put them on co-main, or do they do two co-mains for MSG? It's Madison Square Garden. Who knows? Maybe we got two co-mains, but I would not think that it would be this year for sure. So I like him getting a title shot right about now because you know I think right now flyweight is one of those divisions where we're used to seeing, you know, the champ go through some tough opposition. And right now, Kai France made it pretty much known that if you want to have some tough competition, you got to put his name in there. If we didn't have his name in before, but us, Bobby Watkins, we're pretty familiar with Kai France. But I think this is him introducing himself to the.
He'd been gone for a year to kind of reintroduce himself. Like hadn't fought in a year, so I think getting a huge knockout like that kind of reminded some people, oh yeah, he's that dude. He is.
And for the record, I was
a
extremely
huge general public, like everybody.
Yeah.
Like I was extremely dismissive of him in the fight. I kind of think I let me thinking Ursay won the last fight cloud my judgment. Yeah, I mean he both him and Hooker looked like, you know, the strength and conditioning definitely helped him out. I mean, you saw it more in the Hooker fight because that went to decision, but you know, Kai definitely looks a lot better. And it makes sense because, you know, with him being out for injuries, it's just going to help kind of prolong his career. So, I don't see any reason not to give him the title shot, especially I literally can't even think of who would get it over him at this point. Like, first round finish, slot him in.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Bobby. I think give him over Albies, even though Albies beat Kai Kara-France in a very close split decision, which most people still to this day think Kai won that fight. You mentioned Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker, and I said it was going to be Gamrot was going to be
That comment.
Fresh says he didn't even recognize Hooker. Yeah, you can't. It's hard to. The last time Dan Hooker was in the top 5, he looks totally different than this time he's in the top 5.
Right.
And I said Gamrot Hooker was going to be fight of the night, and that fight delivered. It could have been fight of the year candidate. That fight was so much fun. My favorite part of the whole night was Dan Hooker in the corner laughing, going into the third round. I love this shit, boys, as he's bleeding. It's just Dan Hooker's tough as nails. He kind of called out a range of people. The fight I said right after that, I said, give me Dan Hooker and Justin Gaethje tomorrow. That's the fight I want to see. To me, that's the most entertaining fight in the lightweight division you can make. He wins that. I mean, he's 1 or 2 fights away. This is a reinvented Dan Hooker. There was a time I thought we were all writing Dan Hooker's obituary, but he's back. With your thoughts on the return of Dan Hooker in the top 5?
Bro, listen, I was just you took my words right out of my mouth. Dan Hooker at 11, no more. Outside of the top 10, no more. Top 5, definitely drop him in there with a bullet. Can't do anything else. And shouts out to him for definitely putting on a show. I mean, we said it. Fight of the night candidate for sure. Gamrot, give him credit. He was. I'm talking about. He took some tough shots, and he gave some too. We saw what Dan Hooker looked like when the fight was over. I mean, my guy was out here basically 2 eyes shut, but still smiling and still going strong. I can appreciate that as a fight fan. But when I think about what I saw and what I want to see next, I can't think of anybody else that you want to see go to war with Dan Hooker respectfully, unless and you said Justin Gaethje. That's my immediate thought. But what if Dustin Diamond Poirier comes out? Maybe, because I want to see him. I want to see him in a fight. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see no. Every once in a while we get a couple fights and we go, hey, it's gonna be technical. They're gonna wrestle. They're gonna do jiu-jitsu. I don't want that with Dan Hooker. I want Dan Hooker doing exactly what I saw over the weekend with another opponent. And I think somebody who would be definitely game for it. I got to throw Justin Gaethje out there in the mix, man. And of course, although the last time we saw Gaethje, he took a tough loss. We saw him take a loss like a man. Right here in the middle of the ring, swinging, and then boop, it's over. But I think a duplicate type of fight. No one is Max Holloway, but at the same frame. If I put someone else in there to give us a similar fight of the night, fight of the year candidate, it would be Hooker and Gaethje, unless we give the Diamond Man a big enough check to come out of retirement, and
it could be his retirement fight.
I would love that to be his farewell match if that's what's going to happen.
Just don't put it in the fucking Apex like the first one.
Oh, yeah. No.
The first one had to happen in the Apex, but yeah, agreed, Bobby. Your thoughts on Dan Hooker in the top 5?
Yeah, first of all, shout out to Dan Hooker for making me look like a fucking moron. I again completely discredited him. Looked at his tattoos and was like, "Come on!" Like, but no, seriously, it's pretty wild that you think back when Chandler debuted in the UFC, where Dan Hooker was, and then Chandler ended up getting the finish, and it seemed like their career paths were going in complete opposite directions. And now Dan Hooker is ranked above Michael Chandler.
Hey, Connor's going to drop the Chandler fight and fight Dan Hooker.
You said it. The magical word, ladies and gentlemen. The magical word. And I was waiting for somebody to say it. Conor McGregor. What does Conor get turned on by this and go, oh wait?
Well, no, he's too busy still partying with midgets.
Yeah.
Like
or little people, for getting politically correct.
But legitimately, listen, is that the fight that Conor McGregor goes, that's the guy. I'm bored with Chandler. I'm tired of thinking about him. I don't want to fight him. Nobody.
Chandler's got to get. Connor's got to get bored of doing cocaine.
Yeah,
from what I've heard, you never get bored with doing cocaine. That's what I heard. But still, if that is the case, does Conor say forget Michael? And of course, Michael Chandler will blow up and go, I want that guy in the ring with me.
See, if I'm Chandler, that's what I'm doing. And like all this does to me is highlight how bad fighter pay is. Because if he was actually compensated, he would have took a new fight a year or something ago.
Yeah.
But the whole reason he's holding on to this pipe dream is because of that check.
The red
now you got all of Dan Hooker's hype. I mean, granted, you're not gonna, and that's kind of the sad thing about it. Like Chandler could fight Hooker in a few months. That could be a great card on the end of the year, possibly steal like fight of the year or something. But unfortunately, Chandler's bank account is not going to show it as a Conor McGregor fight. And that's why he's in this lame duck holding pattern. And, eventually you just got to pull the cord. And, if you weren't willing to do it before the memes came out with him and that girl at Sturgis, I mean, it's just so unrealistic. And like to the point now where like, I mean, no offense to Chandler or Conor for that point, but like neither of them have really been in the mix. I'd say give Hooker Oliveira, give him Gaethje.
I like him and Gaethje.
And as you say that, my sources just hit me on my phone, as you can hear my alerts. The Oliveira fight, I think, would be like if we can't get Gaethje, Oliveira would be like 1A and 1B. You know what I mean? And I would definitely like that. I mean, of course, I would more rather see the stand and fight like we saw last week. Oliveira makes it a little more technical, but Dan Hooker's game reaches that far where it would still be a good match if it became technical, in my opinion. But
and the craziest thing about the Oliveira match, if he wins that, he's getting a fucking title shot.
Yeah.
So again, to put that into perspective, someone we think is going in the complete opposite direction, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Nah, y'all must have forgot." And yep.
Every tattoo he gets a little bit of strength.
I should have just pretended it was Dan Hooker with no tattoos, and it would have been like, okay, give me Dan Hooker.
No, that's where you messed up, Bobby. He's a different fighter with the tattoos. He's tougher now.
He's a pirate.
Yeah. Before we wrap up the 305 talk real quick, we got to talk about Stevie Wonder out there judging the Rosie and
oh my God.
Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful that I can't see the fight because I scored it for tie. Now I don't have a job. I mean, what?
Very good rendition, Barker. Very good.
What fight? Who is he watching? Because I don't know anybody on planet Earth had Ty winning that fight besides him. And I picked Ty, and I wanted Ty to win, but I still couldn't judge that fight for Ty, no matter what.
Well, you said it. We don't know what he was looking at, but for his judging career, that's game over. It's done. I don't know what he's gonna do.
Kudos to the UFC for yanking him right after that.
It wasn't the UFC. It was the commission.
Oh, The commission.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
kudos
The
to the
UFC
commission for doing
the
that.
UFC took credit for it quickly, but they made the call and completely justified. I
Yeah.
mean, that like I would never accuse someone of favoritism, but like unless he watched the podcast and took the Tuivasa money line, I don't understand what he was watching.
Real Fresh as MLB could take notes. Amen to that. Get rid of some of them umps, Fresh, and we'll be better off. Angel Hernandez wouldn't have had to retire. He'd have been fired a long time ago.
Right.
But yeah, kudos to the commish for like you said, Bob, just what are you doing? Get him out. There's no way unless he had money on the fight. It's the only way.
So I believe if they didn't pull him, he would have been reffing the co-main event. So fortunately, he wouldn't have been on the main event. But still, yeah, you got to get him out of there immediately. And, hopefully he can learn from his mistakes. Like maybe he actually saw something. Like I wish they would
they need to say why. They need to have something afterwards, a thing where, you know what I mean, where one or two post people press can go in there and be like, hey, why did you score this fight? If he was like, fuck, that guy was Rosenstrike and that guy was Ty, I had him backwards. My bad.
So that's the only justifiable excuse, is that he wrote the scorecards in wrong. And even if he did that, you replace him. Like that is a massive fuck up.
Yeah.
I was in my mind going, he's got to be like, which one's Ty? Which one's Tuivasa again? He doesn't want to answer the question. But I
had too much to drink. He was seeing the wrong thing, read the wrong thing.
And who knows how spaced out he was, because that's what I think. When they showed the pictures of him, I was like, yeah, he might be on something. But in the long run, man, it was crazy to see the scorecard, and then to see how fast they put out like a press release that he wasn't going to be on anything else. I saw it on Twitter when I was at the game. I was like, who, what? Because I missed the Rosenstrike fight, but I did get to see the replays, and I was like, yeah, there's no way he could have scored it that way. That was Rosenstrike the entire time.
Yeah.
Let's also not forget the elephant in the room, that fucking fight went to decision in the first place.
True that.
So,
yeah,
I mean, maybe the guy just thought, they're not going to need my scorecards. I can dick around for 15 minutes.
He already wrote it in. He wrote it in just in case.
Right, yeah.
I fucking won't need this shit. And he was scrolling on his phone on Twitter, tweeting out, "Hey, look, I'm at UFC 305," and then they wakes up like, shit, there's a damn, they finished. Shit, just turn this in.
Right.
And I know we got to move on.
Look where I'm at, y'all.
I know we got to move on, but regarding the leech, this is a prime example why I do not pick with my heart.
Rest in peace, Leech.
Pure
Rest in peace.
Pick, and the second that fight started, I was like, "Oh, good God, this is." And yeah, that was full. Knocked him out cold, and then smoked a cigarette.
Yeah,
like.
It's an after sex cigarette, Bobby.
Gotta have it.
Shit. Yeah, you good? Because that was good for me. And then she's still laying there in bed, like that was.
I
sandwich.
Why
you
that
ask questions
fight,
like that when it's over. You hungry? Yeah.
I understand why it had not been stopped, because I feel like they wanted the viral knockout. But that fight could have been stopped 45 seconds earlier. Yeah. There was no reason to watch his soul leave his body. Like,
we ain't seen the Leech in 2 years, and he just got put to rest.
Yeah, no, they better give him a layup at the Apex. I mean, I know they don't do that.
Salt on the Leech that night, man.
Like,
that was it.
Yeah, like you're giving him a killer that smokes cigarettes and trains. Like, come on.
Yeah, Parades is that guy. Real quick before we get into this weekend, before that 305, Dana announced the card 307 in Utah, and it is none other than Alex Pereira once again stepping in. for the third time this year. Fourth fight in less than 12 months, man. This isn't crazy. And he's fighting Khalil Roundtree, the number 7th ranked number 8 light heavyweight. I'm going to defend this fight real quick, because if there's one fight I want to see in the light heavyweight in the 205, it is Khalil Roundtree versus Alex Pereira, a striker's delight. I don't want to see Alex fight Ankalaev. I don't care. Ankalaev's boring. He's had his opportunities. But Alex is beating everybody else. Khalil Roundtree is a legit striker. Sign me up. I don't care about the rankings. If you said, hey, if you just gave me a list of names and said, hey, which one of these guys do you want to see Alex fight? I'm pointing to Khalil Roundtree because he is that dude. Bobby, your thoughts, we'll start with you on just the announcement and your feelings towards the fight.
So the reason I grabbed my face, full disclosure, is I just find it depressing that they're making him fight in Utah. Like, thank you for saving the card. Love the matchup. But, like, can we stop booking this place? Like, he's so
they pay the UFC to come there. That's why.
No, I know. They pay the site fee, and that's why they're there. They will roll out dog shit there until we die. I completely understand that. But, like, I really wanted him to fight somewhere else. Like, granted, he's already fought there before, so I don't think it will affect him at all. But that's the first thing when I saw that. The second thing I saw was, damn, okay. Again, I have no issue with the matchup. It's a funner matchup. They probably were worried about the grappling stalling in Utah. And, there's a reason they had Ankalaev booked. So Dana could pretty much say, oh, well, he's already booked for a fight. Of course he's next. But, I got into an interesting discussion about this today, actually, and about why Ankalaev is, like, universally should be next and stuff. And there was a lot of back and forth with it. People forget he did get a title shot, and it was a draw.
Yeah.
And it was so bad that they didn't even run back a draw. Normally, they just run the fight back.
Or even put one of the guys in the title fight next.
Yeah. And it's like, no, neither of them. Jamal Hill and Glover's next.
Yeah.
And ironically, hey, that's the batshit crazy shit that happened to get Jamal a title shot. So what happened to Roundtree, to me, that's a lot more natural.
I think Jamal wasn't like top 5 or nothing. It was just like he was available. I think
that matchup was already set, and then Dana made it for the title. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong.
No, because Glover was supposed to fight. He was supposed to fight Yuri on that card.
Yeah,
Yuri
then the last minute switch up.
Yuri got hurt. They said, "Do you want to stay on it?" He's like, "No, I want a proper training camp." So they're like, "Okay, Glover and Jamal Hill."
Yeah, and like to Ankalaev's credit, that he did take that fight on short notice, and it was a draw. But in real time,
no, they were already scheduled to fight, and they just made it for the title fight.
Yeah, but like I didn't have him winning the fight. I would have had him losing. It was a draw. So and keep in mind, this is coming from someone that thinks he should be next. But this whole idea of like, well, if it's anyone else, you're just crazy. Like how he's undeniable. And like, believe me, if he was that undeniable, he would have gotten the fucking title shot.
Yeah. And that was 2 years ago. I think that'd have been 2 years ago already. Like this December or something like that.
I hope that fight ends up happening because I find that matchup very interesting. And, Ankalaev's game plans go out the window a lot of the time. I want to see that fight for a lot of different reasons. But one is because I actually like Poten's chances in that, opposed to a lot of people.
Against Ankalaev or Roundtree? Yeah. I love the Roundtree fight, though. People are dismissing Khalil Roundtree, and I give him a good chance to win that fight.
I mean, I could see why they're dismissing him because of the speed factor. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is a fight. So, like, he's definitely a live dog and he has a chance. But him already saying that he plans on using no grappling, I'm not sure how good of a chance he has. And I say that with all the respect to Roundtree, he easily could win and be the champion. But it's definitely the more interesting fight. There's, I think even the people that don't like it acknowledge, hey, this is a way better fight. But damn, Ankalaev really got fucked over.
Yeah, it happens. Whit, your thoughts on just the Ankalaev, not the Ankalaev, but Alex and Roundtree just being announced, and Roundtree being the number 8 lightweight.
When it happened, sorry. Well, I'm on it, right? Okay. Yeah, when it happened, I think I sent you the text because I was in my mind,
What's up, Rob?
Because everybody was like, yeah, we got Alex Pierre, blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't thinking of Khalil Roundtree when I read Khalil Roundtree, maybe. But when I saw the picture, I said, okay, I get it now. This is worth a bit of a, shout, So in my opinion, I heard you say it, Bockins, excuse me, while I had like multiple things going on. So him down here at what, 8? It's way more I don't know what's a good word for it. It's way more sexy. It's a sexier fight to me than Khalil Roundtree. It's more tantalizing. What's another word for something you wanna do or eat or whatever. Either way, the point is, in my mind,
it's more
Khalil
edible.
Yeah, there you go. It's more of an edible fight. It's more, I feel like I can it's palatable than maybe Jamal Hill or something. Ankalaev, yes, but do I want to see, that? Probably not. Rakic,
he's coming off a loss.
Right, he's coming off a loss. So Roundtree on the way up at the moment. Haven't had, of course, beat the old man,
Anthony Smith
and everything. Hey, I think this is what you mentioned as a strikers matchup. And when I think of two guys that will this won't make it past the second or third round, I like it. And if Khalil shocks the world, then this is a turnaround fight that you have to have.
It could shock the world. 2 years ago today, Leon Edwards shocked the world as he put Kamaru Usman into the shadow realm.
There you go. And I was just about to say, shouts out to Utah for giving us some really memorable fights. I know Bobby was like, "Boo, Utah! Nobody likes John Stockton." I know, I get it, but at the same time, that place, it has that air. You know what I'm saying? Karl Malone may show up, but we don't really like Karl Malone here. But the point is, it's something about Utah that we have to respect. And it has given us some memorable moments. And it's a possibility that this is one of those times.
Yeah. Also, real quick, 8 years ago today, or yesterday, I believe it was, Conor versus Nate too. And who would have thought where we'd be at
in
where
Utah?
we're at Conor right now? Not in Utah.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say, damn, Utah got some things.
For the record, both of them have a win over Anthony Smith. Both Ankalaev and
a lot of people have a win over Anthony Smith.
Yeah, well,
Anthony Smith did Call of Duty the other day.
Dog on Smith. They both have a win over him, and like if you compare the resumes like side by side, like you can put holes in it all you want. I'm kind of at the side of we get it, we know why they did it, and if people want to say, "Oh, the UFC is just about doing the best matchup, it ain't about the rankings," I got a little secret for you. They've been doing that for a long fucking time. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Let's
this is just one of those ones where it's blatant. It's the champ versus 8. You're completely right, bro. You're completely right.
But it's the best matchup. If you take away the numbers, it's the best fight to watch. It's what I mean. They're also a business. That's the thing. When people want to complain about it, I'm like, it's a fucking business. They got to put on a good fight for TV, for people to buy, and for people to come watch. It's a business at the end of the day, and they made a business decision. Let's get into. Go ahead, Whit. You got something?
Oh no, Shama. That was it.
Oh, Chama. Yeah, Chama. Let's get into this week's Apex card, baby. We're back at the Apex. I think this is the last time at the Apex, hopefully, at least for the year.
No, next week they're doing Burns Brady at the Apex.
Okay, so we got 2 weeks.
A fucking crime.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, they could have combined these two cards and that one took it someplace and it would have been an incredible fight night. But this week we got Jared Cannonier. What's Cannonier? Cannonier is
the Vanilla Gorilla, right?
The Apex Predator.
The Apex Predator.
Jared Cannonier is the number 5 middleweight and he's taking on Caio Borralho, the number 12 middleweight. I'm looking at the rankings or Jared's actually the dog coming off the loss to Isrdin Imanov. He's at plus 200 here. Jared is, and Caio Borralho, who is undefeated, I think, in the UFC. I'm double checking that. He is. Last time we saw him was back in May in Brazil. He had that big KO against Paul Craig. Right. Huge jump here for Caio, but he is the favorite at minus 245. Whit, who you like here in Saturday night's main event?
Unfortunately, it might just be game over for Cannonier in this one. In that Brazilian card, Caio Borralho looked really like leagues above the competition. But when I say leagues above, I'm talking about Paul Craig. And Paul Craig didn't look ready for what was happening to him. Jared Cannonier is in my opinion one of those guys, like you got to see it to believe it. But somehow the killer gorilla. That's what I knew it had to do something with a gorilla.
The killer gorilla.
Yeah, I couldn't think of it. I said vanilla.
I call him the Apex Predator because he's undefeated in the Apex.
yeah, there you go. And he have he's coming off of his resurgence from having a bad knee, and unfortunately he lost to Imamov, but this is where the rubber meets the road for Cannonier, in my opinion. If he can put a show on against the next up and comer in the division, can we see him go up the middleweight ranks somehow, some way, and not necessarily get into immediate title contention, but can we see him get further up the ranks and we get him closer to 5? Well, past 5, we get to 4, 3, and 2. But that would play out where we're gonna have like a bit of a musical chairs where Izzy's gonna fall somewhere. Robert's got to fight, of course, and then Nasruddin. They're gonna kind of rotate a little bit, especially within the next couple months. But if he wins, he breaks into the 3 or the 4. And Robert Whitaker kind of slides in depending on what happens with him and the Hamzat fight. I really would like for me to not go with my heart on this one because my heart says Jared Cannonier, but these fight nerd guys who is a part, Borralho is a part of their crew. They come in and they are putting guys out and they're not playing. So my brain is going Borralho, but my heart is going with Cannonier. So this is a tough one. So I'm gonna go with Cannonier by decision. Because it'll only be his wits, because I'm afraid Borralho put his hands on him and that'll be the end of that one.
What about you, Bobby? What'd you like?
I mean, it's really a tough one to call because, like, in a normal scenario, I would probably say, it's a pretty good test. Cannonier's had a lot of success in the Apex, and he's used to that moment don't. It's kind of sad we even have to call that a moment, but like he's
that
used to fighting
environment
in there.
used to that environment.
But that being said, so is Caro, and it's really hard to go against the fighting nerds this year. I mean, what that camp has been doing.
I think they're undefeated this year.
I think so.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. I believe they're undefeated.
Yeah, I think they are. But you know, I think Cannonier did feel a little slighted when he had that win over Sean Strickland, and they didn't give him the title shot. They gave it to Dreckus instead, and we've seen a lot of these moments this year where the vet guy comes in versus the up and comer, and we end up finding something out, you know, and I could totally see that, but in this specific fight, I think I'm going to have to be going with the fighting nerds, and I think he finds a way to get it done. But if I was betting this fight, I'd probably be smashing Cannonier plus 200 all day. I thought it'd be a lot more even. So that it's weird to be excited for the Apex on Saturday. It's a really good card.
It is. It is. I'm right there with you guys. First of all, Jared's 40 years old, coming off a knee surgery.
40.
And I know in his last fight, the fight was stopped a little prematurely. He was kind of winning a lot of those exchanges up until that. But man, this Caio Berardo kid is tough. He's 31, so he's 11 years or 9 years younger than Jared. I think Jared's a little bit long in the tooth at this point in time. Give me the fighting nerds, baby. I wore the glasses just for the nerds. I just didn't put no tape on.
Awesome.
But also on this card, the co-main's a good one. A couple straw weights. We won't have to pick it, but just kind of pointing it out here. It's dead even. Angela Hill, who is the number 9th ranked women's strawweight versus Tabitha Ritchie, who is
Baby Shark.
Huh?
Baby Shark.
Baby Shark. Versus Ritchie is 10-2. Angela Hill 17-3. This fight's dead even. It's both of them minus money here. Bobby, you don't got to pick it, but just thoughts on the co-main. That's another good fight.
It's another good fight. Another fight that's a fucking travesty. It's in the Apex. Like that fight would have a crowd reacting, especially with Ritchie.
Yeah.
But they're taking the week off, but at least the matchmakers didn't, and they gave us some fights. That one, I didn't know that was the co-main. I thought that was the third fight on the top of the card, but that's for sure a worthy co-main. God, I'm glad I don't have to pick that one because that's right down the middle.
And odds makers say so too.
Dead even, bro.
I would probably lean Ritchie, but like Angela Hill is so fucking tough. Like I can't really doubt her. So I mean, that could low key have a performance bonus coming for it too.
Yeah. Wait, you got any thoughts on the co-main?
I was just gonna say, man, 10 wins by decision when it comes to Miss Angela Hill, and then somehow, some way, we got 5 by knockout. This young lady has been putting on exhibitions where her gas tank is just not running on empty. I have gotten a chance to look at a couple of her older fights, and I love her energy. Her pre-fight and her post-fight energy is always something to behold. She does great interviews, but of course, we not worrying about how she talk. We worrying about how she fight, and she does it. She brings it in the ring. She has great takedown defense, and also she's a bit of a wrestler. But can she stand and scrap with the best of them? Yes, she can. So I'm gonna go ahead and ride with Angela Hill. But I know we're not picking them. But I do like Angela Hill in this fight, even though, like you said, Bachens, the odds makers got it pretty dead even.
Yeah,
minus money right now. But I'm liking I'm liking the fact that it's a co-main event, but I'm not liking the fact that it's in the Apex where no one will be.
You'll be able to hear the echoes like that exactly. Yeah. Also,
that 10 those 10 decisions she has, half of those are when she dropped the round too.
Yeah,
so, I mean, she, if the waters get muddy, she still sticks in it and finds a way to win.
Yeah, one of the huge betting favorites, the always game Neil Magny's on the card. He's at
Uncle Neil. Who got Uncle Neil out the fucking house?
Plus 550 to beat Neil's, I'm sorry, is a huge dog at plus 5 he's plus 550. He's taking on Michael Morales at 16-0. Uncle Neil
that should not be in the fucking
wait. What is plus 6? What?
Yeah, my Uncle Neil Magny's plus 550. So he's a huge dog on the fight, taking on Michael Morales, who is a heavy favorite at minus 950.
Wow.
I'm glad we get to see that, but that is Neil Magny. I can't believe how good this card is for being in this soulless fucking environment. The only God. I'm gonna watch every second of it too. That's the sadder thing. It's I'm all in.
Yeah, son of a bitch, you got me. Morales 16-0, taking on Neil. He's unranked, and he's taking a heavy favorite against the veteran Neil Magny. So I would probably pick Morales, but I'd sprinkle some money on Neil, because Neil at plus 550, you're gonna get some money if he can pull it off. Also on the card, real quick, Gerald Mershark and Edmund Shabazian's on the card. Gerald's always game. Gerald's always a tough out. That's on the card. That pretty much sums up kind of the names, kind of bigger fights, but not a bad card for the Ape.
That's a great fight too. That would normally be a main event at the Apex. I'm not even kidding.
That's the co-main.
Listen, I want to throw this out there because I know we clowning a little bit on Uncle Neil, but Mike Mallet from Canada was the guy before he got in the ring with Neil Magny, because they was he's the next up, he's a killer, blah blah blah, he's undefeated. But Uncle Neil said, "No, young man, put it down." And all of a sudden, we got a chance to see Neil Magny. I like this one because I think me and Botkins and Bobby, you're in the mix now, so you'll get to see me joke about this. But there are gatekeepers that they just put stumbling blocks in the middle of the hallway at night just for fighters like this. And one of them's name is Neil Magny.
Describes him perfectly.
Yeah, the ultimate gatekeeper. Before we get out of here, Bobby, you got anything to add before we get up out of here?
Depending on what you're doing this weekend, last Friday, it was probably the most exciting fights. We got a lot of good fights. But BKFC does this kind of Contender Series light show. It's normally on Fridays. Last week's was in Kansas. That
it was in Kansas City.
Viral knockouts, some good finishes. That shit always delivers. And it's definitely, if you got free time, check that out, because I promise you will not be disappointed. It's bare knuckle boxing, so there's no kicking or anything. It's not MMA, but it's a very type of dirty boxing that gets scrappy, and all those guys fight on a straight win. There's no show win, so all of them bring it. So if you ain't got anything going on Friday, check that out. It is gonna be wild. And I don't even know who's on the card. That's the best thing. The
you don't gotta know it's BKFC, baby.
Deliver.
Hey, that's all you gotta ask for.
If PFL had that problem, they'd be swimming in pig shit right now.
Word.
Wait, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, man. So really quickly, big fight announcement for the boxing world. Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. That's a big one. So we're going to be looking out for that one in October. We got some more information going on where, of course, somehow, some way, nobody wants to fight Shakur Stevenson, but also nobody wants to fight Lomachenko. I don't know why. But out of nowhere, we're going to have at least 2 good months of pay-per-view boxing matches going into the fourth quarter of the year. I can't wait because, of course, we already know Fury has got to fight at the end of the year. We're going to have that rematch. That's going to happen. But when you throw Artur Beterbiev and we throw in Shakur Stevenson, which could possibly mean Tank Davis, we don't know quite yet because Lomachenko doesn't want to fight Shakur. We're going to have some good fight cards. So next week, I will be bringing back way more information on the boxing, and we will discover how we're going to close the year in boxing.
Yeah, I'm really interested for that Shakur fight, the one they booked.
Yeah, for sure. It's because it's somehow, some way, what the people were thinking, it was Lomachenko. But Lomachenko and Shakur's people cannot, and this is the second time in which they cannot reach a happy median. And it's one of the fights that makes sense. So I can't wait to see what turns out with what goes on in the fight card in September. But then October with the Bivol and Beterbiev, that's actually a big deal too. So I'll delve more into that after I get some more research done over the weekend.
No doubt. Real quick, hey Aaron, thanks for tuning in, guy, and fuck you too, man. So appreciate it. Anyway, that's the show. Be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Aaron, make sure you tell your friends to tune in. Leave great comments like the one you left because we enjoy all of them.
We enjoy your comment, Aaron, but we don't care.
Be a friend, tell a friend, like, subscribe, share. We'll be back next week with an all new episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. For my guy Witt, my guy Bobby, I'm Bodkins. We'll catch you next week. Another great night at the fights Saturday night in the Apex. We can't wait to break it all down and watch it. Unfortunately, watch it in the Apex, but good fights nonetheless. We'll see y'all later.
I love it. You guys are so great.